While reading Bessie Head's novel A Question of Power, I was intrigued when the main character Elizabeth, while suffering a mental breakdown, encounters Medusa. I remember as a little boy watching the 1981 version of The Clash of the Titans and being terrified of Medusa, the goddess with snakes for hair that could turn a person to stone with a mere glimpse of her face. However, in my research, I was fascinated to find that the origins or birthplace of Medusa is often cited to originate from Libya, Egypt, and Africa, and not Greece, as most depictions of Medusa suggest. In Libya, Medusa was portrayed as a serpent goddess of the Libyan Amazons, and her hair resembled African dreadlocks. Her face was hidden by a veil that was said to be nearly impossible to lift. To lift Medusa's veil would force you to see your own death as Medusa saw your future. Medusa in African mythology varies from the Greek depiction in that the African Medusa was often viewed as a beautiful female, pictured in calm natural scenes that contained lush landscapes of birds, reptiles, and an abundance of snakes. The serpents would coil around her limbs or intertwine within her human-like hair. It was believed that Medusa could charm these snakes with a whisper, and some believed the snakes could charm her into doing whatever they wished. In African culture, from which she originated, viewed snakes as an important symbol of the cycle of life and not the personification of evil as believed in other mythologies. For example, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, from the Christian tradition, is demonized and represents secret knowledge and danger. In the same way, in ancient Greece, Medusa was demonized and viewed as a monster with seething snakes for hair. In African culture, Medusa was a triple and primordial goddess. She was the embodiment of the past, present, and future, and had the power to give life, to destroy life, and to resurrect life. In some areas of Africa, Medusa was said to maintain balance and that she could take one's life so another could be born. She was one with the earth and believed to influence the realms of the heavens, earth, and underworld. Therefore, she possessed ultimate wisdom. In African mythology, Medusa reflects a connection with the earth and represents fertility and becomes a matriarch for the land itself, representing a harmony with nature. While Medusa may symbolically represent life, in the novel A Question of Power, the reader is reminded of how terrifying a figure she can be as well. I believe that Medusa appears to Elizabeth to remind her of her exile from Africa. Medusa is Africa, the very land itself, and her appearance in Elizabeth's hallucinations taunts and torments her. Many scholars maintain that Medusa transformed from Earth Mother in Africa, Libya, and Egypt into the despised monster of Greek mythology when Greece became heavily patriarchal in the 6th century BC. Ovid tells in the Metamorphoses how the reptiles in the Sahara Desert came to be when the blood from Medusa's severed head dripped into the sand, giving birth to serpents, vipers, and scorpions. Some historians believe that Medusa's beheading symbolized the patriarchy's attempt to silence female power and wisdom. In Head's story, Medusa's presence in Elizabeth's subconscious also appears to be a symbol of the tug-of-war between the matriarchal and patriarchal as well. As a single mother, Elizabeth feels isolated and shunned by society. Medusa represents Mother Africa in Head's A Question of Power, and she symbolizes both good and evil and the complexities of race, gender, and sexuality along with class structure in South Africa. Medusa holds both the power to create and destroy, and her presence leaves Elizabeth feeling even more left in the margins of her out-of-control life that has been gripped by madness.